Straggling stuff.
I haven't RSVP for any either.
Yeah.
I want to.
I want to, but I liked it when it was like in the winter months on it.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Just
the
doesn't
same
work.
day as National Day of Service.
Yeah, no, it's perfect.
So you can
they're-
volunteer earlier and then go to the ice cream social to chill out.
Yes, no, it's a great vote.
Let's get just a few more minutes, see if any other, just walk in. I didn't get anybody saying they weren't going to be here,
You just the last.
so.
Come on, I love that name. I do.
I love it.
I couldn't help myself.
All right, well, let's go ahead and call this to order. The last two might straggle in a little bit. Let's go ahead and just everyone introduce yourselves. Ken Lish, Chair.
Tracy Keller, committee member.
Tricia Dunham, Vice Chair.
Joel White, committee member.
Karen Taylor, committee member.
Ryan Welch, committee member.
Matt Morris, committee member.
Allison James, staff liaison.
All right. So our first topic of the evening is the 2017 Open Space Budget Review. Allison, can I kick that to you?
Sure, and this is on our agenda just to briefly go over the open space budget items for 2017. And I'm just going to give you the title of the line item and the amount. So then you'll know exactly what the numbers are for next year. The first one is the budget line that OSAC typically uses for National Trails Day, for part of Ashley DeLop, our wildlife coordinator's fees, and that's called Open Space Coordination, and there's $10,000, which is the same number as this year. Trail improvements and other projects is, I'm sorry, that number is $12,000. So they did give OSAC the $2,000 increase that the group asked for recently. The trail improvements and other projects is $800,000, and that line, the focus of that line would be our expedited trail projects that are under design and currently. The next one is Coal Creek enhancements at Superior Town Center, which is $1.5 million. The next one is the Shan Shan Shu property house demolition, which is $100,000. And if you recall, in the agreement with the purchase, the house was going to be removed from the property.
Is that this year? Or are we going to talk about
This
that
is
one, the Shan-
2017.
Okay, 2017. That's what I meant.
Yeah, so it's the end of the year. I think they're shooting to get it demolished because that will be the end of the third year.
And then the final line item is the Shan Shan Shu open space trailhead design and I guess feasibility type study for $10,000.
Allison, has there been any talk on staff's end about how that process works, specifically the feasibility study? Like, do we get brought in on that, or is that something like we provide ideas and then staff runs with it, or staff just, do you have any idea how how it works in general?
I'm not sure how it would work in general, although it seems like the trend has been, that OSAC has been consulted for recommendations regarding development, like in the Coal Creek corridor at STC and projects like that. So,
Thank you. Okay, does anyone have any comments or questions about the 2017 budget before we move on?
Ken, can you just explain the second line item?
The
How
tr-
that's different than the,
The $800,000 trail improvements?
no, the 12K
Ah.
trail? But that was labeled trail improvements?
No. So the $1,200,000, Allison, correct me if I'm wrong, is the open space coordination.
yeah, it's
And-
12,000.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it was 10,000.
Oh, that's one line item.
Yeah.
Yes.
Open space coordination and, okay.
Oh, that's
Oh,
one,
okay.
okay.
That went from
I
10
had
to
that
12.
at 2, okay.
Yep.
Okay. I
And
gotcha.
that reflected the $2,000 increase that we asked for to help out with additional growth of the National Trails Day event and for additional outreach opportunities for next year.
Okay, thank you.
Where did the 1.5 million for the Coal Creek enhancements, where did that number get generated from? Was that from the board?
That, Allison, if you,
That number is, that number is just part of the budgetary process and the project of the Superior Town Center. And it's the corridor which is open space.
So it doesn't go towards Parks 1 or 2 or anything like that, right?
Not from my understanding.
that's my understanding as well. It's just to actually enhance the Coal Creek itself and all the different additions that they'll need to do that, the cleanup. Yeah. Yep.
Because they had done the cleanup upstream, but there's still a lot even from the flood that needs to be done that we saw when we went on that hike.
All right. So with that, I think we'll move to the equestrian event. Sean, I apologize. I lost your email in the swarm of all my emails you sent a few weeks ago talking about a participation fee, and I just realized it tonight when I was prepping for the meeting. So Sean had sent out a question about whether or not we had discussed a participation fee or whether or not we'd provide any type of remuneration to Jim Sawtell and his daughter. I believe that was
Mhm.
the basis of the question. We hadn't really talked about it as a group yet. I guess it was my understanding or my assumption that it was going to be a volunteer thing. Do you have any?
No, I didn't know if we had ultimately decided, if you guys had discussed with Jim that aspect, or if he had brought it up, or
Yeah, it
that was
hadn't
the
been-
one point I just wanted to mention.
Yeah, it hadn't been brought up at all.
We have all these other activities that are provided by the town. Some are free and some are not, and I didn't know if,
Yeah, I think the ones that we generally sponsor as OSAC are free of charge. But I know we've also provided gifts to people who have come and donated their time for these events, like Rocky Mountain Rescue Group and that sort of thing. So, I mean, I don't see any reason why we can't provide some type of thank you gift or something like that to them.
I'm just throwing it out there, but I'm wondering if it's going to be a small number and there's no registration fee. Will we have the potential of having people sign up and then no show? Ashley, you would know better because you do a lot of those. Or they do have a registration fee, I think, right? Some of them anyway.
Well, I take registration for the OSAC outdoor education programs, which have no fee, and for Parks and Rec programs, which do have a fee. And, if there's a limit, like 14, I think that number was thrown out there for this event. I'm not sure if that's the hard and fast number. But there is potential that people sign up and don't show up. I mean, especially with a free program that I think there's maybe a little bit more of a chance with a free program versus one that has a fee.
So the question is in order to guarantee that we have people coming, do we want to have a small fee? Because that would guarantee people, if they put money down, they're going to show up.
Well, on the other hand, is a lot of our free programs go to capacity also. So, either way, I think people will show up. It's just a matter of, with that limited possibility, if only 5 people show up instead of the full 14,
If I could just mention, just because this program's, I know we have other programs with animals, but this one is like literally getting on a horse and riding around. Like maybe a fee would attach, means the participants are maybe a little bit more interested, and it's not just
Kids showing
a
up for
time
pony
filler.
ride.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
only because it's animals and we want to make sure that it's, a good event, I would recommend at least a small fee to sort of, so it's not somebody's time filler for the afternoon.
Allison, do we have any rules with the town as far as deciding upon a fee? I mean, we've had a wide variance of fees out there. How are those determined typically?
Well, typically a contractor agreement, there's a memorandum of understanding signed with the contractor, which has, it's a legal document. And most of the time, the fees are an 80-20 split. So, because there is a lot of administration that goes into a program before the program even comes to fruition. Star Party, for example, I do that, and the reason that I'm charging for that specific program is parking. Depending on where you're going to have it, if space is limited, you don't want to exceed your capacity and have children crossing the streets at night. So it also depends on where it's going to be, what kind of parking you have, when it's going to be, what time of day, and things like that.
So another thing to consider is if we want to do this again, I'm not sure that we'll get the same, I'm not sure that they'd be willing to do it again if we keep making a free event. If we want to continue doing this as an OSAC-sponsored event, also it might be a good idea for that reason.
Is that the intention, that this event isn't just a one-time, but it's every year event?
Potentially, yep.
Yeah, I think it's an exploratory pilot type event to see if there is a demand in the community for it. Since there's typically a contractor involved, and this is a little bit different, normally the fees, I assume, get passed on to the contractor. In this situation, where it's a little bit fluid, this isn't that typical case, would we be required to then just pass on those fees to Jim and his daughter, or?
Well, I'm just curious if it's called an OSAC-sponsored
Yeah,
event, how that dynamic would work.
Yeah, I'm a little bit hesitant to charge the fee. I understand all the other sides of it. Everything we've done has always been free, and I'd hate to start to, we can change it, but we've had that precedent in the past and are always trying to provide these opportunities to the community to broaden. I think if we're concerned about people not showing up, we can take the extra step of maybe handing out a few names to some of us and calling the night before to verify that they're going to be able to show up. And if they say no, we've got a wait list of the next 5 or 10 people who tried to register but were too late. There's other ways to get around this without a fee. And that'd be my general opinion, but I'll go with whatever the group.
What about, if they sign up for a certain time slot, you give them 5-10 minute grace period and then forfeit that spot to somebody else?
I think what we decided last time is we're going to do two different waves, more or less, a younger wave and an older wave. So it's not that they're necessarily going to be time slots. You'd either be one or the other.
Yeah.
The thing I come back to is this is also an outreach event to teach people about trails and horses and not pay to go ride a horse.
Right.
Yeah.
And that, I think it's important to keep that in mind also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is important to say thank you to them. I think a gift is appropriate. We certainly don't want them just to give us their time without
Right.
anything. So I think we have money in the budget to do something for them and say thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think in that 250 to 400 range that we've given other, that's usually right around where it is, right? And
Yeah.
I don't know with the fee too, if they're not really a company, how do you transfer that over? Like, we've had all those questions about insurance and things like that. And if we put it, you know, generally, like Allison said, the other things that have a fee, there's usually, it's already all set up. It's a corporation that's already doing that.
That's a good point. Would there be, it's income then, and does that get
Yeah.
tricky that way for them?
Or ours is a gift or a donation to
So I'd say, how about let's not do a fee for this. Between now and our next meeting, I'd say let's all think about any possible gifts or any way we want to say thank you to them, and we can address that then. In the meantime, though, I believe there still has been a little bit of some challenges on the town side as far as getting this set up and actually figuring out whether or not insurance is necessary. I think it would make things easier for them, and Allison, correct me if I'm wrong, if we make a recommendation tonight that more or less says that we'd like the board to approve open space funds be used for any insurance that is necessary.
Yeah, and I just wanted to let the group know that I did bring along our typical MOU, which we sign with all the contractors, and there's a whole paragraph, and it's done by the town attorney, that talks about, the vendors maintaining their own insurance and things like that. And so since this is the standard procedure, if the group still wanted to try to host this program, that the best way to go about it would be to make a recommendation, like Ken said.
Is there anything else that would be needed in that recommendation to make things as easy as possible for this event to take place?
Well, and a recommendation that there's consensus that the group wants to hold this event.
So is the recommendation isn't to the board that we'd like your permission to do this. The recommendation is that OSAC would like to do this event and use open space money to pay for any incidental insurance that might be required. I think we talked about this last time. Do we have any idea how much a one day worth of liability insurance might be? I'm wondering if we need to put a cap on that or put it within reason. I mean, if it's like $1,000, that might be. I'm not sure we want to spend $1,000 on a one-day event. I mean,
A few hour event.
exactly.
And, we're capping it at like 15 people. That's a lot of money to spend
Yeah.
for 15 people. I have no idea about insurance, like what it would cost.
It's never
I
been
expect it
an
to be
issue.
pretty small. I've done some cycling events where we've had, full day thing, and they're relatively small policies. I mean, less than $500 for an all-day event with hundreds of cyclists, so. I do think it's a good idea to put a cap on it, it's, it limits our chances of getting exposed, basically.
Mhm.
But I don't think it would be a big policy.
But back to your question, vendors have always signed our MOUs, so we've never had the problem before because it's an established company, and then they have always held their own
Right.
insurance. And so when they sign our paperwork, they give us a copy of
Got
the
it.
policy.
And he's an individual, right, who's volunteering his services, right, okay.
Well, without any of us having any good idea with what a good cap is, I mean, does $300 sound like? Should we say we could write within reason? I mean, does anybody feel?
Under 500, I mean, within reason, I guess.
I mean, I'm almost feeling 500 for a
That's
small
too
event
much.
like this is too much as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
250.
yeah, I'd say 200, 250 is probably the max I feel comfortable going for the limited amount of people that would actually benefit from this.
Well, I guess the first place to start would be knowing how much it actually would be.
Yeah.
Not having that information is kind of crippling.
I have no idea for events, but I know for wedding stuff, we rented several halls, and it was like $100 or $200 per hall and day that you rented. But this has animals, so could be twice that, if not more. I don't know.
Depends how crazy your wedding was.
We're kind of animals, actually. Good point.
I think a cap is a really good idea. I mean, how much is the group willing to commit to the event?
And there's
50 for a few hours sounds reasonable.
And there's still an outside chance, right, Allison, that, I mean, the lawyer, our town lawyer hasn't fully ruled on this. I mean, there's still question about whether or not it would even be necessary, because I know Jim Sawtelle mentioned that he thought he might be covered under a different law that he was referencing.
Well, the group has to put forward a recommendation so that, everybody knows that everyone is interested. You voted on it, and then it can go forward to the next level.
I personally don't think it's wise to have an event like this without insurance, because there's too many unknowns.
Yeah. So I guess, do we prefer 200, 250? Is everyone comfortable with 250? 250?
Yeah.
All right, so I've been writing as we went, so just a rough recommendation. OSAC recommends that an equestrian event take place in October, and that open space funds be used to pay for any necessary one-day insurance not to exceed $250 to cover the Sawtelle family for the OSAC-sponsored event. That can be wordsmithed a bit, but...
Yeah, and to include the horses, right? Because the liability insurance would go to him, the horses, plus you'd have to, say a little kid falls off a horse and hurts himself. That liability insurance would have to cover a child, right?
So maybe we don't say to cover, we just say the liability insurance.
Yeah,
And
broad it, make
Necessary.
it
make
more-
it broader, yeah.
Do you also want to put in there something about a gift or whatever, so we know that financial factor is also in play?
I don't think we've needed to do the gift within a recommendation in the past. That's not something we have precedent for, right, Allison?
I don't think so.
Yeah, we're good on that.
Could you read that back to me really quick?
OSAC recommends an equestrian event. Should we say an OSAC-sponsored equestrian event? So OSAC recommends that an OSAC-sponsored equestrian event take place in October, and that open space funds be used to pay for any necessary one-day insurance not to exceed $250. Any adjustments to that recommendation? Are we all good with that? All right. So,
Silly question, but we do have budget for that.
yes, we were very conservative in the beginning of the year, especially around National Trails Day. We could have been more. We could have used a bit more back then than we did. So we have plenty of budget right now, especially since we're not going to send anybody to the COSA conference.
Okay.
So yeah, that won't be an issue.
All right, cool, thank you.
When's the next meeting that we would know if this gets approved? I'm thinking of sending out notification and sign up, because it's coming up.
Well, also, Mr. Sawtelle was supposed to circle back with me with his daughter. We had been emailing and to get the marketing information ready. And he hasn't gotten back to me on that yet either. So what was the date that we were looking at?
It was the 20
15th?
October, yeah.
was-
So
Was it
like
the
a month.
15th?
Right.
Yeah,
Coming up.
Sunday, yeah.
Right.
Yep.
But we do have one meeting before then, but you'd probably have to do,
Well, the town board meets on the 26th. So as long as they approve our minutes, then I think that's the approval we're going for. So it's by the 26th, that's when we'll have the thumbs up from them to
Okay.
move forward.
And then our meeting falls on the 12th, October 12th.
but you guys can email in the meantime before then to get the,
To get it all squared away.
yeah, sign up going if it gets approved. Okay, awesome.
Yep.
And since there's not that many people to sign up, it usually isn't too hard to get a class full quickly.
All right, well, I move that we recommend to the board the recommendation as previously read.
Second that recommendation. Motion, sorry.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, passes unanimously. Okay. The next topic is the Rocky Mountain Greenway feasibility study. When you guys get the lights over there? So this is what Trustee Pennington brought up at the end of our last meeting. This feasibility study that we're looking at right here shows 5 different possible trail alignments. Rather than just saying we're going to go through Rocky Flats and that's the end of the story, they've actually added a few others. So this is more or less just to keep us all in the loop in case at some point in time we do need to enter this conversation again and make a recommendation. So just to show everybody what's currently being considered is the first trail alignment that's being proposed starts down here in the southeast part of the map and comes in this way through Rocky Flats. So this is their first proposed trail. Their second one is the one that kind of goes up Indiana a little bit and then cuts over. So the first 2 that they're proposing do go through Rocky Flats. My gut instinct is that they might end up going with 2 different alignments. I find it hard to believe that they're going to drop any Rocky Flats trails at all, or all Rocky Flats trails, since their goal is to make it a recreation area. So I have a feeling one of those will go through at least, but there's a good chance some of these other ones might as well. So the third one that's being looked at is the trail would actually follow this yellow line up here and then come along 128 and more or less on the shoulder. So that's the third alignment and end up over there. The fourth alignment initially starts out that same way, but then comes this way on this green dotted trail. That's currently a social trail that crosses private property up near the Coyote Ridge region. The idea is that it would then connect down to the trails, and it doesn't say in this study, but it would connect to the trails that we are currently looking at under design. So that would more or less just create a loop. And I mean, that looks like it makes the most sense to us because it would create connection to something we're creating right now. The fifth and last trail alignment that they are proposing is again following this way, but then cuts out at this purple line this direction and meets up with Highway 36 off the map and then follows Highway 36 into Boulder. So those are the 5 under review right now. I talked to Trustee Pennington today. She doesn't know when any of these decisions are going to be made or if there's any additional input we can provide, but she will be kind of on top of that and she'll let us know. So
who's making this decision?
Fish and Wildlife.
yeah, the National Fish and Wildlife Service is leading the project. So they're the ones that will ultimately end up making the decision. But there's a ton of stakeholders that will all be consulted whether it's us, the Rocky Mountain Stewardship Council, any number of other municipalities.
Broomfield, Boulder County, all that.
Exactly, Jefferson County. So that's pretty much it. Just an FYI, so everyone has an idea of what's going on. Any questions?
Ken, what is the black dotted line? What are those trails?
The black dotted lines are Rocky Flats trails that are being proposed to be being created within the actual Rocky Flats Refuge. Yeah, and sorry, the purple line, that's the proposed Jefferson County, the Jefferson Parkway, if that ever gets approved and constructed. So that's also a hypothetical right there.
Are they considering more than one of those trails or just one of those 5?
It was not clear in this study. I've heard, based off conversations that Trustee Pennington has had, it sounds like they're considering 2 of these alignments. One that would go through the Rocky Flats Wildlife Refuge, and one that would not. That way there's more or less of an option for people to choose not to go through it if they wish, but that's not set in stone as far as I know.
Yeah, they're really trying to push Boulder County that an option and that signage would somewhat give you a reason why you might want to take an option, but I don't know how feasible that's going to be.
Yeah, I think where it's currently at is not so focused on the trails right now. I think they're actually looking at the health studies that the rest of the municipalities said they wanted, and I think there's some work with all the different stakeholders to develop what standards will be used to decide on what's safe and what's not. So from what I've gleaned from conversations, I think the health aspect is being looked at right now, and then once that's figured out, it'll be circled back to the trails. So, just an FYI for everybody. All right. No further questions? Move on.
Is just one last one. Is
Yeah.
there a timeline of when they're looking for feedback? Do you have an idea estimated?
I haven't seen a timeline,
Okay.
and Trustee Pennington didn't know of one for sure either. Okay. In that case, we'll move on. You guys want to hit the lights again? All right, so that brings us to our next topic, the former Shan Shan Chu property. First off, does everybody know what property that is that we're talking about?
Is that the one right at the bottom? Where
Just up the hill there.
Just up the hill on this, up McCaslin.
Right, when I say bottom of McCaslin.
Yeah, kind of in the middle-ish of McCaslin. Yeah. So, as Allison indicated during the budget discussion, there's $100,000 budgeted to demolish the current houses there, and then another $10,000 for a trailhead design and feasibility study. So this upcoming year is when we'll actually be able to get into the meat of Shan Shan and actually start to work on that. The reason why it's on the agenda tonight is really just to bring it back to the forefronts of our brains so we can start thinking about it. ProStack has a position that they are concerned about an entry there. It's kind of on the side of McCaslin. It's a steep hill. There's a median that separates one of the lanes. ProStack's primary concern is traffic issues and only having a one way in, one way out, one direction. So that's certainly something that will be discussed in the feasibility study. I think if there's anything that we have ideas on as far as any creative ideas or anything like that, we can certainly bring them up, and the sooner the better to get people kind of marinating on them. One of the things that I was looking at and thinking about, I mean, Sean and I exchanged some emails over the past month about it. I don't know if any of you guys watched the concept plan presentation for the Rogers Farm property that was given to the board. Rogers Farm is the property that's right next to us, pretty much at the base of where Shan Shan is. That presentation had a mix of both commercial and residential. The commercial piece was right up next to the road. The board didn't seem thrilled with that idea. Then, in a further meeting later in the month, the town hall meeting, the town hall expansion meeting that took place, there was further ideas that were just thrown out there. Is there anything we can do with the town hall? And people started throwing around the idea, maybe we can expand the town hall into this Rogers Farm property, since the board wasn't thrilled about it. So when I see things like that, it makes me think, all right, well, anything and everything is on the table. So if we truly are concerned about a one way in, one way out with just one direction of road, we can bring up ideas like having a frontage road type road put in where the roundabout is currently being installed, because that's going to be the entrance in and out of the Rogers Farm property. And that frontage road will parallel McCaslin and can bring us up directly to the Shan Shan trailhead. I don't know if the developer would go for that. I don't know if that's feasible, but it would allow us to have a safe in and out access from McCaslin. It would, if it's a frontage road style, it would mean that people wouldn't actually be driving through the neighborhoods to get to that trailhead. I mean, it's so early in the process. I think we can throw anything and everything out there.
What about going south and up the hill to the light at Key Bank?
And developing a road from,
Yeah, go that way, to not go through the neighborhood, but could we, I mean, just if we're throwing things at the wall, could we make it so that you would come in and out from that light at the top of Rock Creek, Key Bank, and McCaslin?
Don't they have all that amazing retaining wall up there, or is
It's
that?
steep.
further
It's steep,
beyond?
and there's
Yeah.
irrigation
They're just
ditches
putting
there.
All that great.
That's true, there's also the
retaining
irrigation
wall.
crossing.
Yeah.
I think we'd also end up having to cross the trail at that point, because the trail
Mhm.
loops pretty darn close to the road. I'm trying to remember how close it does get to
It's
the
about-
road.
It's about 10 feet.
Yeah.
We run on that a lot, so I'm over there. It's pretty close.
Yeah.
I
The
mean,
group may want to consider putting this item on their 2017 work plan when
It-
that,
This will definitely be on the
Yeah.
2017 work plan.
So at that property, there's that dirt road from Old Town. Is Old Town the right term, or
Original
original
Town.
town? Thank you. Does the property include that piece of land, or does it start there? Is that where the Shan Shan property starts, on the north side?
On
Right
the
at
north
the edge
side.
of that dirt road?
That road.
South side.
Yeah, on the south side.
Yeah.
Well, the south side would be up on Key Bank, like near.
Yes, that's part of the.
I'm
Well-
looking at the north side, though. The north side. where
Which
that-
road are you talking? Are you talking about the road that's at the?
It's like a
Gravel road.
gravel road that comes.
That's the egress, that's the emergency road that was put in after the flooding.
Okay.
To go
But
to basically go to Shan Shan's driveway,
To get people
to
Okay.
get out of original town
I see.
if everything else was. So that is what the purpose of that road is. I don't know, that's not to say that it couldn't turn into
Because whose land is that? Is that Shan Shan, or is that the town's?
That's town.
that's town.
I mean, because it seems like the obvious answer would just be to make that into a road from original town into a trailhead.
So sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but at that same town board meeting, the original town folks do not want traffic going anywhere near their neighborhood, and they
That-
do not want that road used for that reason.
That's one of the concerns with the current trailhead.
Right.
That's Second Avenue. Is that
So,
what?
Yeah.
it comes down on Third, but that becomes Depot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their concern is there's so many people who already go through there that it causes issues, and additionally
There's a
people
number of
parking
people
right
who
there.
park there on
Yeah.
the weekends or
Mhm.
whenever they're hiking and already, so I don't think that that's feasible to think that they would want us to bring more traffic.
I think one of the goals
Yeah.
of creating the trailhead is to alleviate the traffic in Old
Mhm.
Town caused by
So,
this
but a
trail.
frontage road off of Rogers, that farm would connect in with that, wouldn't it? Or would it be separate? I mean, it's such a small piece of land.
It is. And that's one of the problems that we have is how do you still have an emergency flood access out
Yeah.
of original town to McCaslin without increasing traffic through there for other purposes?
We have a gravel trail that was on the plan that goes
Mhm.
right along McCaslin, right?
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
McCaslin, gravel trail,
Yeah.
frontage road.
Yeah.
I mean, that stacks up pretty quick.
But if there's already going to be a roundabout right there, couldn't you just do a little access road
Yes.
up to the trailhead, back
Right.
down to the roundabout and problem solve?
Well, that's what
That
we're
might-
thinking. And what you
But
could
they
do.
already have the roundabout planned? that
It's
they're-
already.
That's what's
That's
being.
what they're working on.
That's
now.
what the construction is right now.
That's, yeah. So, yeah, so what we can do potentially to alleviate people using that gravel road, so if we have that frontage road off of the Rotary, off McCaslin, they go down that frontage road to the trailhead for Old Town so that people don't access Old Town, or original Town through that gravel road, you know, we could always just put a gate,
Yeah.
you know, a wide gate that people can just, if in emergency, they can just flip up and swing open. Not
Mhm.
locked, but openable. But to block that access in and out of original Town, but still have that dirt or gravel road there and still alleviate the traffic congestion or parking congestion off of Second and Depot, Third and Depot, whatever it is.
I know we're thinking about it now, but do we have to, I mean, not necessarily make a recommendation to the board, but should we, through Allison, should we be looking to let Alex know that we're kind of thinking about this? Because I don't know how the planning is going for that roundabout, but if they had it in their back, you know.
Because they are
They
looking
should be
for input
aware.
now, aren't they?
Yeah.
For that development of Rogers Farm? That's-
Rogers and the roundabout. I mean, the
Yeah.
roundabout, I don't know how, these are
Yeah.
public works and traffic. I don't know if it's just a hallway conversation with him of, hey, this is what they're thinking.
We just need to get it in their mind that we do want some kind of access to that trailhead from that rotary. And we
Yeah.
want to make sure that's in the planning.
Well, I mean, the group could recommend whatever they want to recommend, you want to recommend. But there is a budget next year for this trailhead. So that's why I was
But it would go through.
talking about putting it on the work plan for 2017, because there is a budgeted amount for that. If the group wants to make a recommendation
I'm
to go
just
to the
trying
board.
to avoid the thing of, in 6 months when we work on it, is that somebody says to us, why didn't you tell us when we were planning?
Right.
You know, now it's a,
It's
you know,
it's
$800,000 job to go from that road, you know, since they're
Because
in
there's a
that.
commercial property blocking the way and now you
Yeah.
have to go around the commercial property as opposed to planning for it ahead of time.
Yeah, and I don't even know, what the ramifications would be for drainage and grade and like all of these other things. So I really can't give you an answer, but except that if the group wants to make a recommendation, we could put it in the notes and put it forward to the board, or.
I think that makes the most sense, and, I mean, it has to be timely too, because the developer was given board feedback, and they're gonna come back with a concept plan at some point in time. Who knows how quickly that could happen, but, I mean, we want to make sure that the board hears our recommendation, and if they do agree with it, can continue to have staff pass that on to the developer as they refine their next concept plan.
Right.
So you said ProStack has the position they're worried about one in, one out. Does
That's-
this group share that same position?
No, we're talking about the original driveway. They were
Right.
talking
Oh,
about
yeah.
using that. So if we were to use that original driveway, yes, but since they're putting a rotary, that eliminates, I think, all the concerns.
Well, so if we don't have any, if we have to go in where the driveway is, that will be,
That's a big deal.
yeah, that'll be south of the rotary. It will still be just one way in from one lane. And I think it's fair to say that's a fair concern that ProStack does have. I mean, it limits
Yeah.
it. You're going to have people pulling more U-turns up at the light. I don't think if people are coming from the south and have to pass the entrance and use the rotary, that's a problem. I mean, that's a safe way to turn around. The bigger safety issue would be people needing to do U-turns up at the top of the hill at the Rock Creek Parkway light.
And then also just getting out onto McCaslin, because traffic's going fairly fast at that point to the light, and
Mhm.
you have to modify the existing road to have a pull-off lane and a, entrance, to speed up.
Yeah.
You're already on a pretty steep hill.
How big of a trailhead was discussed? I mean, how many cars? I mean, is it that
We
whole
haven't even got to
property?
that point
or-
yet.
Hasn't been discussed.
It's
The-
not that big of a property, is it?
It actually is. It's how many acres?
It's 6.5 acres, but it goes, I mean, it's really not so much the it's that it connects to all of Boulder County, you know, what we have for, I think it's Arsenal is behind there, and then to the Boulder County.
But it doesn't go all the way over to the trail, right? Or
No,
does it?
the town does own that property all the way over to the trail,
Okay,
yes.
okay,
Yeah.
so that
We'd
is
have to
the
create a new
land that
trail
you could
to
work.
it, but
Okay.
Yeah, but that's the
Okay, so
thought
that is quite a
process
bit of,
that
And
you-
it's jointly
Land and-
owned.
And it's jointly owned.
With Boulder County?
Boulder County.
Correct.
However,
Are
Boulder,
there, for those of you who do a lot more hiking through are there any trailheads that are, you know, are sort of set up, would have the bathroom, but it's, you bike to it or walk to it, like, you know, limiting car access?
No.
I mean, that don't need a parking
facilities.
area?
Yeah, that you would remove the parking aspect, I'm
'cause-
just
yeah.
asking.
I mean, another
It's
option
interesting,
that's-
there's a whole thing about being a trailhead versus an access point on the trail systems. And parking and facilities are one of the properties of a trailhead.
Well, if you look on Google Maps at what is currently considered the trailhead off Depot, they call that the trailhead for the Dirty Bismarck, I guess,
Mhm.
for you mountain bikers. So I guess that's for the whole loop, right?
It's one of them.
One of them.
Yeah, I mean, there's 7 or 8 different entrance points.
But you were.
But,
Oh,
go
I'm sorry.
ahead. No, go ahead.
Or you were going down possibly the same path. I was thinking, you know, we're gonna have more parking over here, an underpass,
Yeah.
and a new trail. So I was thinking the same thing, if we didn't have to have parking, but
I mean, my
Yeah, I
concern
haven't
is
seen
if
it
we
before.
don't, we still end up with the original town, but if we could focus people to go park in the town center and say, well, go park there and walk your bike over or hike, you know, walk over.
Or an underpass or.
Yeah, do the
potentially
trail,
that.
but we'd have a bathroom there, you know, or, you know, a bike station like they have down at,
Honestly, on the
Colton.
weekend, I see a lot of people use Key Bank as their trailhead.
Yep.
Because there's
They
a
do.
gate right there. and
That's
so,
true when there's no cars there in the
Yeah.
weekend.
I saw people hauling in photography equipment Sunday afternoon with the good light, you know, doing senior pictures, there's just a line of people coming.
Wow.
Just thinking of the town center and how they're trying to bring in business, I think of the Shanshan Trailhead as a big attraction for cyclists and people who want to drive here, go bike, and then think, oh, let's go over and get some lunch or do some
Yeah.
shopping. So I'm not sure if that's a factor.
Yeah,
as
no,
well,
I was
but-
just curious how, you know,
Yeah.
people
Well,
with more experience might.
But that is a good point, though. A connection easy connection into town center from there would be, it's a good idea.
Well, and-
Because now you'd have to go down to Coal Creek and down, which I guess that's not that far away.
and that actually was the intention of the firm that did the design for Parks 1 and 2. If you remember on the very north side of Park 1, where Marshall Road is, there was a lot of parking that was proposed over there. When they gave the presentation to the board, they said that their thought process with that was that this could act as a de facto trailhead. You have people who can come here, there's going to be facilities over there for bathrooms, and that would give that opportunity. That would then force people to use the underpass that's currently here for Coal Creek to get over, but
And that's a house.
that does exist. I still think the Shanshan Trailhead is a good idea because
I should say.
we know people are going to want to get closer. That's human nature. And if we want to alleviate the pressure, the traffic pressure in original town, we need to have some type of solution. So I guess at this point, I don't know if it's too early to say this is a specific plan that we recommend to the board, or whether we just say to the board, OSAC recommends.
An access point off the rotary. off
The
rotary
consideration of a access point off the rotary.
To the trailhead, future.
To the future trailhead, that's a good way of saying it, because I think it's just
So
more
it's being
getting,
built, like, right
getting
here,
those
right now.
appropriate
They're
people who are
piling
doing the
dirt
Rotary just aware
right
that
there,
that's a thought,
right
and
here
that they
on
would
the
say,
farm. Yeah.
well, they,
And I don't know
being traffic
where-
planners and construction, they would
So
have a
my
lot
guess is
more
the road
thoughts
would
than
come in here somewhere.
we would.
Could you state that again really quick?
Right in here.
OSAC recommends the,
OSAC recommends that
The consideration of an access point for the future trail,
off the rotary.
yeah, for the future Shan Shan Trailhead off of the rotary.
roundabout.
Right.
Or roundabout.
Whatever the current.
That's what
or-
they title it.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay, so OSAC recommends the consideration of an access point.
To the future the proposed future Shan Shan Trailhead
Off of the roundabout.
off of the roundabout.
Or you could put roundabout before all that.
Yeah, whichever way sounds, yeah,
I would say access point off the roundabout.
for
to-
the,
For the, yeah.
Would
That works.
Would that require additional money? Because right now it looks like there's $20,000. 120.
Feasibility study, right?
for the feasibility budget is for $10,000 to look at that. So I don't think we need it anymore. This is just something that they could add to the study.
You know,
Well-
and just to backtrack really quick, this writing was really small, and there are a couple more lines on that budget. And it's 6,000 in water, 50,000 for, yeah, there is
Water
irrigation. Yeah, which is 50,000 for Boulder County Youth Corps, wildlife management, revegetation and weed control.
That's all under one line item for the 50,000?
Yeah.
That's the youth corps.
Yeah. And then I think we went over the $1,000 in staff and member education. Sorry about that. It's
What was the last?
the $1,000 for staff and committee education. I think we said that one, but. And the Boulder County Youth Corps, every year, we have an agreement with them, and they help us to do different, like trail reconstruction, different projects around town, like for washouts and things like that.
That's a nice win-win. The teenagers get jobs. We get trail maintenance.
Did you guys talk, there's another option, just looking at the map where Discovery Parkway is there already is an entrance to McCaslin there, and it looks like it would work to make an entrance just on the other side of that. Is it too steep?
It's too steep, number one. Number two, you still have to cross the drainage ditch or the community ditch or whatever that ditch is, I think.
No,
To
well,
get
I
down
don't
there.
s-
And then it's pretty steep going down from there.
Okay. I mean, it's only looks like it's 100 feet up from where the other driveway was.
Is it where things are already flattening out?
No, it's
No,
where it's getting
this-
steeper.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
So
That was
that's
one.
probably why.
That was one of the biggest concerns when they were discussing the roundabout. Our infrastructure folks said that adding anything in the middle of that hill is a huge safety concern.
You have to level it out and that.
Yeah. So I'm guessing going any steeper would probably wouldn't work. But
We discussed it. Ken and I discussed that.
yeah, we looked at a bunch of the current maps and the proposed maps with Rogers property in the Superior Town Center, and a lot of them, especially the ones that were shown during the roundabout, unfortunately limited a lot of the options.
So maybe as a group, we try to visit the property before the next meeting, take a bike ride or run and see if we can come up with ideas.
Mhm.
Before we end though, on this one, can someone describe the limits of the Shan Shan property? We see the homes and then it goes all the way out to.
I think it's all of this.
Sean put his map back on the wall.
Yep. It's kind of long, that catches long.
North to south.
Mm-hmm.
So it backs up to Original Town and also is going to be next to the Rogers Farm property?
Yes.
Boy, this mouse is funky.
That's a cool map.
Yeah, you can check your neighbors.
Yeah, I know.
So there's Key Bank. We can go north,
And
that's Shan Shan, starting at that drainage ditch.
Oh. The ditch is up near the top, the very
Okay.
south end, that white
Oh,
going
like the-
across there.
yeah.
Hardly ever do this.
That was good. Good job.
And to the east is a town easement, I'm assuming? Right away?
To the east, on the north end, is also part of Town of Superior, co-owned by Boulder County. Just south of that is all Boulder County.
I'm guessing you're right.
Right away, yeah.
Yeah, because when you look at that, that's kind of going like this too.
Mhm.
It looks flat there, but it's really,
Yeah.
I wonder why
it's
it's
going down the hill.
It looks.
Yeah.
Didn't-
So to show what I was describing, let's see. Allison, can you zoom out just a hair?
Must be,
So the Rogers Farm property development's being proposed is all right here. This is roughly where the roundabout is going to go. This is the commercial space that was proposed by the developer in their concept plan that wasn't well received by the board and was kind of left hanging about what it could turn into. So what I was proposing is this is roughly where the roundabout is, creating some type of frontage road right here that could just shoot off this way and then connect to whatever type of trailhead we create.
And that's the space they're actually pushing dirt on right now, is that
Yeah.
triangle.
Yep, all of that's being moved around right now. So Allison, can you, I guess, read back what we have for our recommendation right now?
OSAC recommends that an OSAC old one. OSAC recommends the consideration of an access point off the roundabout to the proposed future Shan Shan trailhead. Should we say McCaslin roundabout?
Yeah, I think adding McCaslin in there makes sense.
You want to say access point or access road?
Road.
Yeah.
And McCaslin already has a roundabout. I mean, we need to be more specific.
Town center roundabout.
Town center roundabout, yeah.
Yeah, good point.
There's always the Colton
Yep.
roundabout.
the very south end of that property, though, it does flatten out on the top of the hill up there. It actually looks like there's a
Yes, it
pretty
does.
good chunk of.
Yeah, it
Kind of
does.
the trail meanders in, and
Mhm.
I don't even know what's over there. I've looked at it a ton, but couldn't tell you what's there. But then it's what do you do with all that land at the bottom, I guess?
Yeah.
I think it'd probably be received more if we did create an access point off the rotary, though. I mean, it's already being developed. It'd probably be minimal cost to the town if we do it through the developer versus trying to do it ourselves as a separate entry point. And plus, I mean, and again, you're trying to draw in those town center folks, you know, across the roundabout, to the new trailhead, as opposed to kind of creating a what's the word I'm looking for? Not disjunction.
Disconnected.
Disjointed, thank you. Disjointed access point, because you know, the people that live in Rock Creek will be able to still get down there. You know, they just have to use the sidewalks and the trails that we're creating now to get to that point. So it's more, and again, our original purpose for that trailhead also was to draw people in from town center. And if we make it as easy as possible for them, as well as little cost, I think the best solution is somewhere off that rotary. into the Rogers Farm property area.
And we're also so early in the process. I mean, the only reason why we need to jump on that piece right now is because they're still dealing with the concept plan. Nothing is fully formed with the Rogers property. If we determine that that's not feasible, moving our focus up to the top of the property can easily happen at a later date. That's not time
Yeah, that's
sensitive.
right.
Yeah, the purpose now is because, one, to make sure that when they're doing the roundabout, they're aware that we're thinking that, and two, like you said, the concept plans for Rogers, to say, oh, they're thinking about this.
They're
and-
moving fast. It's a separate funded project than Town Center.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's still Town Center people, but it's under a different name, so they're trying to move that along,
Yeah.
Mhm.
And even though
get some equity.
the concept plan was only presented last month or so, they've actually been working with the neighbors in original town for several months, getting their input and feedback. So they are moving quick.
Mhm.
So I guess, did anybody have any changes to the wording of that recommendation?
Do you want me to read it one more
Would you
time?
please?
One more time.
OSAC recommends the consideration of an access road off of the Superior Town Center roundabout on McCaslin to the proposed future Shan Shan trailhead.
Sounds great.
Okay. I move that we approve the recommendation as written. Is there a second?
I second.
Is there any discussion? Okay. All in favor? Aye. All right. Passes unanimous. All right. The last bit of the agenda, the updates and look-aheads. So, Chili Fest. Several of us were out there. I was there for the first couple hours, and it went great at our booth. We shared a booth with everybody else. As I said in the email last month, we switched the snake presentation with doing the outdoor-based glitter tattoos, like the concept of outdoor-based. While I was there, it went great. There were kids nonstop all day, brought parents. I'm not sure that it drew the parents. I think the parents were either there anyway and were listening to us, or if the parents came and they didn't want to listen to us, they weren't going to listen to us anyway. So I'm not sure there was a benefit, but at least it got us more goodwill with the community, and it was great with the kids. And there were at least 2 or 3 people that I spoke to about the proposed trails that were incredibly in favor of the ones that are under design right now, specifically the ones on the south end of McCaslin that more or less finish out that McCaslin strip that's not there already. I don't know. The rest of you guys who were there, what do you think? Anything else?
No, I would say the same. We had traffic through up until about 5 minutes of 6. So,
Awesome.
it definitely, petered out, the later you went, but we still had kids getting tattoos. So that all went well. I have that stuff in my car, so Allison, I forgot to bring it in when I walked in. I have the leftover maps and whatnot.
We can put it from your car to my car next.
Okay, we're moving that along. Just that was there, but I thought it was good. There was, we were pushing with the ProStack people and things that they're in the what's the recycling? What's the
RCAC.
RCAC.
RCAC. That there's openings, and speaking of that, that's not on here. But when is the next open house? It's usually October, right?
There was a date that was proposed. I don't think it's been finalized yet.
But we did tell those folks, if you're interested, go. We're at a full committee right now, but we said, go and fill it out, applications and whatnot. So, but it was good. I think we.
The comment I heard over and over were the trail maps were loved, but they wanted an updated one. So our trail maps are a year old, is that right? That's what I thought it said on there. But
Are there ones that have,
Passport ones, I think.
are there
Yeah.
trails that have been added to the pass? They've been added that aren't on the passport
There
though?
were two to 3 people that were making some reference to that they weren't up to date, but I don't know, I guess I didn't compare.
I mean, some
I
of
think
them on the
that's-
website are out of date, and maybe
Yeah.
that's what they were
Okay.
referencing, that you can download.
Yeah.
Well, I think
Maybe.
we run into, too, that, there are a number of social trails
Yeah,
that people might think are real trails that, should be on the map, but really they're social trails, but they get a lot of use, so.
That's true.
I'm not sure.
I mean, I looked over, my kids went and enjoyed it a lot. I stopped by for a minute, and my kids were pleased and got passports we've been looking for all summer. And the only thing I noticed that when I looked through the passport, and I didn't examine it very closely, was there was no mention of the Broomfield connection, like to the Rock Creek Farm. That's not our trail. We just show other connectors on there, like to Coal Creek, but it's the only one that was obvious to me.
Okay, good.
Allison, I mean, we probably have less than 50, less than 30 left, so was that the end of them?
I think half of them went to Town Hall and the other half came to OSAC for Chili Fest. So if there are any left, it would be whatever you have and then maybe,
Okay.
but
I
it
just
is
meant more
almost
of
the
it's
end
up-
of the season.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm
so-
saying, this is more for feedback when Katie redoes it or whoever puts it up.
Right, and Chili Fest was our last bigger event, so typically we wouldn't be handing out new ones. And, I mean, we will hand out whatever we have, but typically, the demand is less because school started and
Yeah.
everything.
Okay. Allison, did you have anything from your side, Dad, for the Chili Fest update?
No, I think it went great. We coordinated, got the stuff, to
I think
the
overall,
booth.
also the whole Chili Fest just went great this year.
It was huge, big crowd.
We got
Yeah.
extra tables because other groups have a lot of leaflets. And I was looking for that open house email, but
I found it. It's on the 27th, but that was October 27th.
and it's not on the main calendar on the website, so.
The email that I got from him was requesting people's availability.
Right.
And I never got a final out of that, so I'm not sure it's been officially scheduled.
Okay.
I thought it came out in email today.
Did it today?
Yeah.
I might have
Just
missed
filed
it.
away.
I haven't gone through all my emails yet today. Okay. The next topic is Nature at Night programs. Allison?
So our final Nature at Night program is on the 15th from 5:30 to 6:30. It's the Song Dogs, which is about coyotes and Native American myths and, more wildlife education with Ashley. And our last one, which Patricia knows, was canceled due to bad weather. And then we rescheduled it. We had some dropouts. I added some people, and so we still ended up with a good amount of people.
I think I counted 30, but my numbers could be off. It was unfortunate that the weather moved us off of the full moon.
Bummer.
Which was a bummer, but Ashley's so knowledgeable and she had fabulous pictures. And at the beginning, we did get to see a great horned owl, or
Oh,
at least
nice.
half the group did see it swoop down, and we saw some bats. And Ashley had sound effects trying to get them to respond, which they didn't, but a week later at 5 a.m., I had a great horned owl on our roof who woke my husband and I both up with some screeching barn owl, too. They were having a conversation.
We have one very near our house, too. It's very loud.
It was very, we were like, wow.
And we
So-
did organize it for the moon, just like Patricia
Yeah.
was saying, but because it canceled,
It was like thunderstorms that night, which,
Exactly.
but.
And we waited till last minute, we were talking on the phone at 3:30 going, I don't know, it looks pretty bad, so
But-
it's always at risk.
It was an excellent event, and I think, everybody that was there was very excited and learned a lot. And Ashley had all kinds of things. She had the little pellets from what they regurgitate after they eat. The kids were very excited, so it was a great event.
Awesome. Snakes Alive.
So, as most of you may have seen the emails about Snakes Alive and can it grab its tail and roll down a hill, we're hosting, a snake education program as a standalone. Same person that was at National Trails Day that drew very large crowd. Right now, we only have about, I want to say 12 to 13 people signed up so far, and it's coming up pretty quick, so October 1st. A lot of times it fills up right at the end, but I do have 70 spots for it. I did it kind of under the same idea as Star Party with the limited parking, but it is during the day, so even if people had to cross, it's a little bit safer than at night. And he's really excited. He's going to bring his audio equipment and his snakes, and hopefully the weather holds out for us. If it's too cold, the reason we did it more expedited is because if it's too cold, he just can't have the snakes out. So hopefully the weather will hold out for us, and we'll have a successful event.
Would you be able to do it indoor somewhere if the weather doesn't cooperate, like here?
Here.
I don't know. I could check, but I don't think we've ever had live animals exhibit inside of a town hall. Reptiles. I think there was one time there was the Denver Zoo came out at the firehouse, but it wasn't successful. As far as logistically with people and the firemen being there and, the small capacity.
And getting the trucks out.
And since we don't have any real indoor multi-use spaces in town.
Is that going to be part of the future town hall expansion then?
I do not know.
That's a conversation for the next board.
Is that on our work plan?
Yeah, it is.
But it will be over at the Colton Trailhead, so even if we do have small numbers reserved, there's going to be walk-ups, just like there always are.
And I urge everybody to come because this guy is fabulous. If you haven't seen him, his snakes are amazing, and some of them are, really sweet, and then he brought a bull snake, which can be really aggressive, so it was really exciting, and the kids loved it at Trails Day, so I urge everybody to go. It's great. He's great.
Allison, I signed up this afternoon, so I don't know if I'm part of the 12, or you have at least 4 more people if we're not.
Oh, good, okay.
I don't know when you checked your numbers, so.
Along the same vein, I've been waiting to sign up, thinking, well, I won't steal spots if other people want to go, but if there are plenty, then I will sign up as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Just sign up, and if it does fill, if anybody's watching our video, just give me a call. I could put you on a waiting list, and maybe we can see how we can fit more people in.
Perfect. All right. Little libraries. So, I don't know how many of you guys know what little libraries are. For those that don't, there's small houses that normally get put up next to mailboxes and that sort of things.
There's only one in town, right?
There's more than that. There's that one.
There's one by Community
Sagamore.
Park.
There's one.
Turffield.
Yeah, there's one over there, and there's one in Sagamore. So there's at least 3.
Oh, wow.
I haven't been able to track down an exact number yet. But Allison and I were talking. Allison had an awesome idea that as far as additional ways that we could possibly do outreach is we can purchase some books and actually add them to the collection to reach out to our younger audience. Open space related books, whether they're survival type books, whether they're bird books, any number of things. We can start looking at potential books that would be good for that type of demographic. That way we can continue to draw the younger audience more into this realm of outdoor living.
Okay.
you tell me more what the little library is? So it's like a book swap, or
Yeah,
what is it?
that's pretty much exactly what it is. People come in, they bring books, and it's more like a just on your honor, you will take the book, read it, and then bring it back when you're done.
Well,
Do we have any idea of how much they're used at this point?
The one in Sagamore was used quite a bit when I lived over there,
How do you know?
because I used to look in there to see if
Did
there's
you?
anything
Okay,
cool.
I was just- all right, so you were one of, all right, I don't know how, okay.
Ken was doing
I know that the
steady
books
A little
on
webcam in there.
the books of that one rotated often.
But, you know, you could put sponsored by OSAC, you know, put our information, maybe maybe put in a leaflet of our outdoor education programs for the year. Maybe
In the book.
glue gunned or glue sticked in the back, you know, or something for the year. It was just an idea I came up with because I went to a training and they were just talking about different ways to outreach people in a more grassroots fashion. And I was like, oh, we have little libraries because we helped the Girl Scouts put the one in by Williams Turf Field. And I just thought, well, that might be, you know, people that may not be going to the town's website or on the CAC or getting the newsletter. They may be walking with their child to the park and going in the little library, you know.
Yep.
really clever.
And really low cost. I mean, we can get a handful of books out there for easily less than $200 and reach lots of people. Oh, yeah. I mean, just depending on how many books we wanted to buy. We need to find out how many libraries are. We've confirmed 3. Still trying to track down if there's any others that we don't know of. I think when this was brought up with the board several months ago, it was stated that they're not allowed with the Rock Creek Homeowners Association. Yeah. So the HOA doesn't allow them, which is why I think we have fewer and why they aren't
I was gonna say,
in Rock Creek. So I don't know if there are any other locations that are even feasible, but
Parks, that's all I can think of, is
Yeah.
if you put one at Purple Park and.
that got brought up. I think it was maybe a Boy Scout troop. Somebody wanted to put another one up, and that's why it was talked about at the board level several months ago. But I can't remember. I don't remember it going anywhere. So
Who supplies all the books to the ones that are currently?
Publicly sourced.
Yeah, public.
Just put one in.
So it's
and-
all
They don't want
volunteer?
books.
Gotcha.
Well, and I know that the Girl Scouts, they paid for the structure and
Mhm.
Parks and Rec helped to install it and help the children. So we have pictures of all the kids putting it in. And then they initially stocked the books. But, you know, as it ebbs and flows, you know, there's going to be opportunity to where once in a while, maybe a person of the group would like to put, you know, 2 or 3 books in a place and have the new outdoor education schedule in it.
Yeah. So I would say if anyone has any great ideas for books, send them out to us, and we can develop a list and get it out there. And
We could also ask Ashley, you know, what are some of the really good.
And what age range are we targeting here?
Any age, adults too, right?
yeah, most of what I saw was targeted towards like elementary school kids and maybe middle school kids, but there were books of all ages in there. It was just the majority of it was kid oriented.
Like all the Jack Kerouac books are great.
Yeah.
Definitely birding, though.
Call of the Wild
You
is
know,
what jumped to my
parents and
mind.
children can look for birds together and things like that.
Well, definitely the one over by Community Park, because there's a lot of wildlife there.
Oh, yeah.
So anything that we
We can
put
get
in.
our scat information books out too.
Yes.
What were we talking about then?
Yeah. I think that's a great idea.
Scat hike.
Yeah. They do those up at the Y at Rocky Mountain Park.
Allison, can you send Ashley an email just asking her if she has any great recommendations?
Sure, absolutely.
That'd be awesome. So then, that was it on the agenda. I did realize there was one more item for the updates that I wanted to add. Something that came in front of the board that was brought up by ProStack is a safe crossing for the new underpass that's over by Davidson Mesa. So crossing Marshall Road. Right now, it literally just spits you out at Marshall Road, and that's it.
Goes nowhere.
ProStack brought it up at their last meeting and made a recommendation that they want to add something in there to make it safer. What they ended up making a recommendation for was adding some type of crossing, whether it's a light, a roundabout, or whatnot, over at 76th Street. So you would actually come down Marshall to 76, which is that road behind Costco and Target,
Oh,
and you would cross right there. There was knowledge and an understanding in that discussion that that might not even be the best idea, that there's a lot of stakeholders involved. CDOT would have to be involved, Boulder would have to be involved. And then on top of that, it's also very, very early in the process for deciding what's going to happen with the trail over there. Both Louisville and Boulder County are still in talks to determine if they can get some type of trail connection from that Davidson Mesa area into our existing trails to the west. Last I heard, Boulder County was hoping that they might be able to use some of the land that's over at the Louisville water treatment area to shoot across and connect with the trails. But there's no solid update on that. So in my opinion, it's probably too early for any recommendations for how to get across safely, especially because we don't know what's going to happen with the trails. But it's something that we should definitely keep on our radar. The fact that it's connecting open spaces and that trails were still part of our mission and goals that we passed by the board last year, this definitely falls within our purview. So as there's more information that comes up about it, it'll once again get brought up with us. So.
And we're still waiting for the trail that you got funded to come down.
The Dr.
as well.
Cog Trail?
The Dr. Cog Trail is still not built yet, too.
Well, it's under, I think, depending on which leg you're talking about, the one that's going in behind Old Chicago is under construction.
Yeah, I went further up.
Yeah.
They had done some like grade work there, and I thought maybe it was in preparation for that, but then it looks finished now, and there's obviously no trail, and they put culverts in for the water to flow. So
I think it might be in next year's budget,
Yeah.
if I'm remembering correctly.
I think I remember hearing them say spring was when they were going to start that one, but don't quote me. So anyway, that's just something that, again, will probably hit our radar and want everyone to know about. So does anyone have anything else for the good of the order before we end tonight?
I just have an announcement. I did talk to some of you privately, but I have thrown my hat in the ring and am running for Superior Trustee. So I just wanted to inform you all of that. So as it stands, I stay on the committee until elected, and then you have to step down.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Good job in last night's forum,
Yeah.
debate, whatever we call that thing.
That's a forum, it's not a
forum.
debate. Because it was the League of Women's Voters.
Oh, nice.
Forum was last night, so that's a forum because of the way it's set up. You don't debate each other. Everyone answers the same question from a moderator.
And there's how many candidates?
There are 9 candidates for 3 open spots.
All right. Well, we are adjourned.
Very early. That's okay. Yeah, no. Yeah, no worries. Oh, yeah. No worries. The Boulder JCC had their grand opening or something. They had a ribbon cutting. No, 7. Starting to rain. I was out there. It's that Cherryville.
there's been a lot of frustration with it.
I'm only sending it back because I don't know
Trevor that's there currently.
how well
All of the
deserved.
development.
That's my chair, right?
The marketplace, all the traffic that has come from like people coming through to Target, and again, the town center was popped up, a lot of people that are ignored.
Okay.
A lot of
Allison, I'll wait in the
frustration.
lobby.
If you go back
Unless you
once
need
the,
help
town
with this.
center
So do you mind if I
was
give these to you? These were
the
flags for flag football.
It was almost all over.
Going to be used over the summer, but apparently.
That is specific stuff.
Oh, or the town center, I should go
Thank you,
outside.
ma'am.
So
It
Patrick
wasn't
said
the town
to bring
center,
it
so,
to the
sorry,
meeting.
the town
Okay.
hall.
You can add it to the box.
Oh,
Yeah, we'll
okay,
add
so
it
it's
to my
basically
car.
just everything's encroaching.
Which is
on
probably
the
stuff
city,
with other stuff like that.
Well,
And that's fine, that's cool, that's good explanation, so. That works for me.
It's an argument, a lot of
Yeah,
Going from building to building.
way before anything else was here, right, so.
Has there been any
Yeah.
resolution on expansion?
Well, my
Is it
schedule's
going
loosening up, so I
I
hope to get
don't
that
know.
history.
That's,
I heard
That's
that's
more-
more about it.
Yeah, there's something.
Especially.
It'll be something that,
Huge
there's another meeting plan.
That is, man, that's gonna be great.
Okay.
We put it together, so we can have like a sheet for everyone, show the history of it. That's gonna be, I
Okay,
think that's
cool,
great.
cool. I'll keep thinking about it, there might be ways to make it a little bit better,
Okay.
but, yeah, cool. I just need to find some hours, it's just been crazy lately.
I know that.
You know anything what that's like, so.